One of the things I find most striking is the presence of Antarctica on ancient maps, because we didn't discover it until 1820.
Imagine seals in Antarctica, a desolate wilderness of ice with no trees and barely livable conditions, stumbling upon something terrifying. In this frozen expanse, seals endure the deep cold, finding air holes and evading dangers in the dark. Yet they've discovered something far more shocking, an unimaginable secret hidden beyond the ice wall. Strange footage from beyond Antarctica's ice wall has surfaced, revealing a horrifying secret that left the whole world in shock. Survival in the frozen South? Antarctica is a place like no other on Earth. It's a cold, icy land with no native land mammals, reptiles, or amphibians. No trees or flowering plants can survive its harsh conditions. Yet, even in this frozen wilderness, life manages to survive. The ice here acts like a time capsule, holding on to stories from long ago, from ancient creatures to past climate changes. One fascinating discovery in Antarctica is the seals. These creatures, often called the puppies of the ocean, have a simple look but are incredibly skilled at surviving. Weddell seals, for example, are perfectly adapted to the freezing. They can dive more than 2,000 feet into the ocean and hold their breath for over an hour. But that's not all. Recent research shows that these seals have a highly developed sense of smell. They use it to find breathing holes in the thick ice and to detect predators and prey, even in the dark polar winter. However, seals aren't the only amazing finds in Antarctica. Scientists also discovered the remains of a huge bird that once flew over this icy land. This ancient giant bird suggests that Antarctica was a very different place in the past, possibly warmer and full of life. These discoveries make us rethink what we know about this remote continent. The seals and the giant bird show how life can adapt to extreme conditions. Each find from the ice gives us more information about Earth's past climate and how species have evolved over time. It appears that Weddell seals might use the Earth's magnetic field to navigate through the icy waters. This is like having a built-in GPS, helping them move confidently from one breathing hole to another. This skill is likely an evolutionary adaptation that helps them survive and hunt in their challenging habitat. But the most surprising part was discovered in early 2022, when a team of scientists found a huge breeding colony of these seals deep in the Weddell Sea. This discovery is important because it gives us new insights into how Weddell seals reproduce and adapt to extreme environments. The colony, located in a secluded and unexplored area, provides a unique look into the life cycle of these animals and how they interact with the polar ecosystem. Learning about these seals' navigation skills and reproductive behaviors not only increases our understanding of marine biology, but also shows how species adapt to some of the toughest conditions on Earth. But that's not all. This ongoing research continues to uncover fascinating details about the lives of Weddell seals, highlighting their incredible adaptability and resilience. The cold waters of Antarctica, there's a huge underwater area where icefish live and breed. This space is about 92 square miles, which is as big as the country of Malta. In this vast nursery, there are around 60 million nests. Each nest is carefully made by the icefish and is about 75 centimeters wide. These nests are homes for the fish and their thousands of eggs. The adult icefish are very protective parents. They clear the seabed to make these nests and guard their eggs closely. This ensures that the eggs are safe from predators and strong ocean currents. The icefish's dedication shows how well they have adapted to one of the coldest places on Earth. But here's something even more interesting. These fish have clear blood. Unlike other fish, their blood doesn't have hemoglobin, but it does have special antifreeze proteins. These proteins stop ice crystals from forming in their bodies, allowing them to survive in freezing temperatures. The icefish's ability to live in such harsh conditions is amazing. The Weddell Sea, where these fish live, is one of the last untouched marine ecosystems in the world. Studying this area helps us learn more about these tough creatures, and how to protect such pristine environments. Understanding the icefish's survival tactics gives us valuable insights into how life can adapt to extreme conditions. A team of researchers made an amazing discovery in Antarctica. They found 5 new meteorites, and one of them was one of the largest ever found on the continent. This particular meteorite weighed about 17 pounds, roughly the size of a cantaloupe, but much heavier because of its dense metallic makeup. Despite its size, it was made of a common type of space rock, known as a chondrite. Finding a meteorite this large is a big deal because it's very rare in Antarctica. Only about 100 meteorites of similar size have ever been found there. This new addition was a significant boost to the collection of space materials gathered from Antarctica. You might wonder why Antarctica is such a good place to find meteorites. It's not because more meteorites fall there, but because they are easier to see and stay well preserved. The vast white ice makes dark rocks stand out, and the cold, dry climate keeps them in good condition. After exploring the icy landscape, we uncover more amazing discoveries about Earth and space. The hidden riches beneath Antarctica's ice. But this isn't the only reason Antarctica is important. The combination of visibility and preservation makes it an invaluable location for finding meteorites. Each meteorite gives scientists important information about space, helping to piece together the mysteries of the universe. These discoveries in the frozen, remote part of the world continue to excite and drive research. Every new find adds to our understanding of the cosmos and keeps the scientific community eager for more. In a notable expedition in 2010, researchers from the Antarctic Geological Drilling Program used a robot with a camera to explore under the ice shelf. They were amazed to find thousands of tiny sea anemones living in the ice. These sea anemones were different from any others seen before because they lived within the ice itself, not just on the ocean floor where sea anemones usually live. Their tentacles hung in the cold water, looking like delicate flowers hanging from a ceiling. But that wasn't the most surprising part. Known as burrowing ghost anemones, these tiny creatures are less than an inch long when they are contracted, but they can stretch up to 4 times their size. Each anemone has 20 to 24 tentacles. This shows how life can adapt in unexpected ways to survive in harsh conditions. But the most surprising part isn't just how they live. In 2019, a team from the International Ocean Discovery Program made another unexpected find. While mapping the seafloor in the Scotia Sea, north of mainland Antarctica, they accidentally collected genetic material called sedimentary ancient DNA, or SETA DNA, from as deep as 584 feet below the seabed. This accidental discovery of ancient DNA has opened new doors to understanding the long history of life in these remote oceanic areas. And the mystery deepens. Scientists are now ready to explore these genetic treasures to piece together the past ecosystems that once flourished in the now icy and barren Antarctic waters. The story of Antarctica's underwater world keeps evolving, revealing more secrets with each discovery. The SETA DNA holds genetic material from diatoms, which are important tiny plants in the ocean. These samples keep DNA that is up to 1 million years old. Before this, the oldest DNA we knew about was 650,000 years old and found in Arctic ice. As the temperature in these regions keeps getting colder, scientists hope to find even older DNA samples. The colossal squid is not just a story, it's a real creature that scientists have studied a lot. It has the biggest eyes of any animal, with each eye being up to 16 inches wide. This squid can grow up to 46 feet long, and some reports say it might get even bigger. Unlike the giant squid, which has tentacles with small-toothed suckers, the colossal squid has tentacles with sharp hooks. These hooks are perfect for catching and holding onto large prey, showing just how powerful it is as a predator in the deep ocean. The deep ocean, the colossal squid is one of the most fascinating creatures. Known for its huge beak, the biggest among squids, it can easily tear apart its prey. This makes the colossal squid not just any predator, but a master of ambush attacks. Even with its scary abilities, it avoids the ocean's surface, living in the dark depths up to 7,200 feet below. Because of this, it is rarely seen by people and faces few threats in its dark home. However, the sperm whale, one of the few animals that can challenge it, sometimes has scars from battles with these giant squids. Now, let's talk about another adventure. Over 100 years ago, the polar regions were the last unexplored places on Earth. Ernest Shackleton and his crew were among those drawn to these icy areas. On December 5, 1914, their ship, the Endurance, left for South Georgia Island, heading for Antarctica. Built to withstand the extreme conditions of the poles, the ship carried Shackleton, his team of scientists, and even a stowaway who joined the crew later. As they went deeper into the Weddell Sea, the ice got thicker and more dangerous. Despite their best efforts, the Endurance got stuck in the ice, marking a significant yet tragic moment in the history of polar exploration. The ship Endurance got stuck in the ice. The crew tried hard to break free using picks and saws, but they couldn't. The ice was too strong. As the cold Antarctic winter got worse, the pressure started crushing the ship. For months, the crew stayed on the ship, facing brutal conditions and hoping the ice would melt. But it never did. By October 27, 1915, Sir Ernest Shackleton had to make a tough decision to abandon the Endurance. The ice finally broke through the hull, and the ship sank into the cold water. With each find, stories of survival and the human spirit come to light. Rediscovering Endurance, a century beneath the ice. Over 100 years later, the wreck of the Endurance was found. Using advanced underwater vehicles and guided by detailed notes from the ship's captain, Frank Worsley, a team on the South African-American icebreaker, S.A. Agulhas II, located the wreck. Surprisingly, the cold Antarctic waters had kept the wooden structure of the ship in good shape. Even after all these years, the ship's name could still be seen on its stern, standing as a reminder of its legacy and the strong spirit of its crew. This find doesn't just show us the struggles of past explorers, it also inspires us today. It reminds us how powerful human perseverance can be, even against the toughest conditions. For a long time, the reason behind the bright green color of these icebergs was a mystery. At first, people thought the green color might come from organic matter or tiny life forms trapped in the ice. But this idea turned out to be wrong. After a lot of research, scientists discovered that the green color comes from iron oxides. Iron oxides, which you often see in rust, absorb blue light but reflect red and orange light. When mixed with the natural blue of the ice, they create a bright green color. But this isn't the most surprising part. This discovery doesn't just add a pop of color to the Antarctic scenery. It also helps us understand more about how different natural elements interact in such a harsh environment. The iron oxides in the icebergs hint at complex geological processes that affect not only the color of the icebergs, but also the nutrient distribution in Antarctic waters, which influences the local ecosystem. The uniqueness of these jadebergs is a stunning reminder of how nature can blend beauty and science in unexpected ways. However, the real challenge wasn't just finding the Endurance or understanding the green icebergs. The story behind these icebergs shows how much we still have to learn about the world's most remote places. The mysteries of Antarctica, with its hidden stories and unusual sights, remind us that our planet holds many secrets waiting to be uncovered. The special thing about icebergs isn't just their color. While most icebergs quietly melt into the sea, green icebergs are unique because they add iron to the ocean. This iron is essential for tiny plants called phytoplankton. These tiny plants are the base of the marine food chain, supporting various sea creatures. Knowing this, we can see how important these icebergs are for life in the South Pole. Something interesting was found nearly 100 years after Ernest Shackleton's Nimrod expedition in 1907. At Shackleton's old base at Cape Royds, explorers discovered 5 crates frozen under the ice. But these crates didn't hold regular expedition supplies. 3 of them had bottles of McKinley's rare old Highland malt whiskey, and the other 2 had brandy. But here's the surprising part. While alcohol might feel like it warms you up in cold conditions, it actually increases the risk of hypothermia and has been linked to deaths in cold urban areas. This discovery gives us a peek into the history of Antarctic explorers and the unexpected things they valued. When you feel a warm sensation after a sip of alcohol, it might make you think it can protect you from the cold. However, this warmth doesn't actually help you stay warm in freezing temperatures. In this case, the crate of whiskey found wasn't meant to keep the explorers warm, but rather for them to celebrate or relax. The boxes with this treasure were dug up carefully and sent to New Zealand. There, in a specially designed place for their protection, experts slowly thawed the crates. Inside the crates, they found 11 bottles of whiskey, amazingly well preserved and still in their original paper and straw packaging. These bottles, from a long time ago, were closely examined by experts from White and Mackay and the Scotch Whisky Research Institute. The specialists carefully analyzed the old blend, allowing them to recreate the historic whiskey. This gave whiskey lovers everywhere a unique chance to taste a piece of history. The whole process not only showed the lasting quality of the whiskey, but also provided insight into the lives of early Antarctic explorers. But this wasn't the most surprising part. The whiskey, after all those years, had kept its quality, revealing the careful craftsmanship of its makers. This discovery connected the past and present, letting modern people experience what explorers might have enjoyed over a century ago. The excitement didn't end with the discovery, as the recreated whiskey brought history to life, offering a taste of the past to today's enthusiasts. The early 1900s, a special kind of whiskey called McKinley's rare old Highland malt became very popular. It was loved so much that a second version, named The Journey, was released to celebrate its success. This whiskey wasn't just a drink, it was an experience. People loved its rich, deep flavors, which reminded them of the rugged landscapes where it was made. Old treasures and strange tales await us in the next chapter. The centuries-old fruitcake of Cape Adare. But the whiskey isn't the only interesting story from that time. There's also a tale about a fruitcake found at the South Pole. Unlike the whiskey, this fruitcake isn't something you'd want to eat unless you were feeling very brave. Conservators from the Antarctic Heritage Trust found this cake in 2017 in a hut at Cape Adare. It was in a rusty tin, wrapped in wax paper. Even though it was over 100 years old, it looked surprisingly fresh and even smelled nice. Still, no one wanted to taste it. The extreme cold of Antarctica had preserved it like a freezer, keeping its high fat and sugar content intact. This was important for explorers like Scott and his team, who needed high-energy food during their tough expedition. But this wasn't the worst part. While the fruitcake survived all these years, Scott and his team faced many hardships. They had these calorie-rich treats to help them, but the harsh conditions of Antarctica were relentless. The preserved fruitcake is more than just an old dessert. It's a symbol of the human spirit, showing how people strive to overcome the toughest challenges in one of the most unforgiving places on Earth. Deep in the cold waters of the Southern Ocean, there's a special place called the East Scotia Ridge. Here, hot water bursts out of the sea floor, full of minerals. Even though the surrounding waters are nearly freezing, these vents are super hot, reaching over 400 degrees Celsius. This unusual environment is home to unique life forms not found anywhere else on Earth. One of these creatures is the yeti crab. The yeti crab has a distinctive look, covered in hair-like bristles. But these aren't just for decoration. The bristles are filled with bacteria that thrive on the minerals from the vent waters. These bacteria convert the minerals into nutrients through a process called chemosynthesis. This relationship is essential for the yeti crab, allowing it to survive where there's no traditional food. Around these vents, yeti crabs gather in large groups, sometimes with over 700 crabs per square meter. Although they are harmless to humans, seeing so many in one place in the icy waters is quite amazing. But this isn't the most surprising thing. Let's switch to another topic: fruitcakes. This food often shows up as a holiday gift, but not many people actually crave it. It's interesting how fruitcake has become a holiday tradition, despite its mixed reputation. Who really enjoys this dense, sweet treat? It's a question that sparks a lot of debate during the festive season. Among these natural wonders and culinary oddities, stories of exploration and survival continue to amaze us. The creatures and phenomena of the Southern Ocean create a rich tapestry of life in one of the harshest places on Earth. Whether it's the strange yeti crab or the debated fruitcake, each part adds to the fascinating story of our world. The remote, icy stretches of the South Pole, there's something surprising: a single ATM. Yes, in the vast, white wilderness, you'll find a machine that dispenses US dollars. This ATM is located at McMurdo Station, Antarctica's largest research hub, and it plays a small but important role for those facing the extreme conditions. Although Antarctica has no citizens or government, it hosts a seasonal population of about 1,000 to 5,000 people each year. These visitors include scientists, researchers, and support staff. During the long winter months, the population can be as few as 200. For these people, the ATM at McMurdo Station is essential, providing cash for purchases at the station's store, post office, and bar. But this isn't the hardest part. Operating this ATM in such a harsh environment is quite a challenge. Wells Fargo manages the machine, ensuring it works smoothly despite the freezing weather. Every 2 years, specially trained technicians travel to Antarctica. These technicians need expert skills to maintain the equipment and must pass thorough psychological and physical tests to prepare for the isolation and severe weather they might face, especially if they get stranded by sudden storms. When the technicians aren't there, if the ATM breaks down, the station's staff can perform basic repairs. Plus, a backup ATM is kept on site to provide spare parts if needed. This setup shows just how important cash is, even in one of the most remote places on Earth. But the ATM isn't the only unusual thing here. The local wildlife adds to the station's otherworldly feel. One standout is the Antarctic scale worm, also known as Eulogisca gigantea. This creature, which can grow up to a foot long, thrives in the cold, barren landscapes. Its body is segmented and covered with shimmering, iridescent scales that protect it from the harsh Antarctic conditions, making it a tough resident of this frozen terrain. This glimpse into life at McMurdo Station highlights the mix of human effort and natural wonder that defines this place. Daily life here isn't just about scientific research and living together. It also involves the unusual task of maintaining modern financial technology far from any city. We now see the real challenges of living in such a harsh place. Antarctica's hidden predator, the icy worm. In the dark, icy waters of Antarctica, there lives a creature perfectly built for survival in one of the toughest places on Earth. This worm, with its long, flexible body, can easily move through the cracks and crevices of the underwater landscape. What makes it really scary are its strong jaws and sharp teeth, ready to catch any unsuspecting prey. This worm is not just about looks. Its strong muscles are crucial, helping it stay anchored against the strong currents that could easily sweep away weaker creatures. In these rocky waters, the worm not only survives, but also thrives as a powerful predator. During a raging cyclone, the ship was last seen fighting for survival near the South Shetland Islands, a notoriously dangerous area near Antarctica. Soon after, the San Telmo disappeared, swallowed by the icy waters, leaving no trace behind. For over a century, the fate of the San Telmo was a mystery, until 1960, when parts of a wreck were found on Livingston Island in the South Shetland Islands. These pieces suggested a tragic end for the San Telmo, but it wasn't certain if they belonged to the Spanish ship. The discovery could mean the San Telmo was the first known shipwreck in Antarctic waters. More importantly, it might also indicate the first recorded instance of humans reaching Antarctica. If the crew had managed to reach shore before dying, They would have been some of the first explorers to set foot on this frozen land, years before others did. Despite many searches and much speculation, the full story of the San Telmo and its crew remains just out of reach, a haunting reminder of human ambition and the overwhelming power of nature. A group of scientists exploring East Antarctica's peninsula made a surprising discovery. Hundreds of mummified Adelie penguins, perfectly preserved by the ice. These were from an entire colony that had died during two separate events, one around 750 years ago and another about 200 years ago. The main reason for these mass deaths seemed to be extreme weather, with heavy rain and snow. While adult penguins could handle such conditions, the young ones with their fluffy feathers were highly vulnerable to hypothermia when wet. They lost body heat quickly, and many didn't survive the cold. Radiocarbon testing showed that this area had been a breeding ground for penguins over thousands of years, with significant use stopping about 800 years ago, likely due to the start of the Little Ice Age. But this wasn't the only strange finding. In 2014, a team from UK universities and the British Antarctic Survey discovered something incredible beneath West Antarctica's Filchner-Ronne ice shelf. Using radar from aircraft and satellite images, they found enormous tunnels, some as high as 820 feet, almost as tall as the Eiffel Tower. This finding was significant because it changed our understanding of how meltwater, or water from melting ice, flows beneath the ice. Instead of a steady flow, the water runs through concentrated channels, like rivers under the ice. This new understanding changes how we think about ice melt and its potential impact on rising sea levels, providing crucial insights into the complex processes happening beneath Antarctica's icy surface. Deep in the heart of Antarctica, hidden under layers of ice and time, lies a glimpse into an ancient world. One of the oldest treasures found in this frozen land is the fossil of the Ball's Antarctic tundra beetle. Discovered near the Beardmore Glacier, this beetle lived around 14 to 20 million years ago during the mid-Miocene epoch. Back then, Antarctica was not the icy desert it is today, but was full of life. The beetle lived among southern beech trees, buttercups, and mosses, thriving next to streams that are now long gone. This fossil is a quiet reminder of the lush life that once existed in this now barren region. But this isn't the only fascinating find in Antarctica. In the desolate expanse of this continent, a more recent but equally interesting story was discovered. In an old, forgotten expedition hut, a box of century-old photographic negatives was found frozen in a block of ice. These pictures were taken by Arnold Patrick Spencer Smith during Ernest Shackleton's ill-fated Ross Sea Party in 1912. They show a story of survival and brave exploration as the group aimed to be the first to reach the South Pole. Unfortunately, they never made it. Their ship, the SS Aurora, was lost in a storm, leaving the men stranded without communication for almost 2 years. Spencer Smith did not survive, but his photographs did, perfectly preserved by the Antarctic cold, providing a remarkable glimpse into early polar exploration. Today, as the ice slowly retreats, Antarctica continues to reveal its secrets, challenging us to piece together the stories of ancient and historical life that once thrived on this remote and formidable continent. As Antarctica reveals its secrets, do we risk exploiting this pristine land? Share your thoughts in the comments, like, and subscribe for more.